All right. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Excuse me. Got a frog in my throat. Anyway, welcome to Wednesday Wisdom, our folks over in the Elevate Success Path community. And by the way, we are streaming to YouTube today. Kind of try something a little bit different, a little bit new. So those of you in Elevate, if you missed this out, you can catch it on replay on YouTube. As we all know, Facebook tends to take things down, and it tends to be a little less than with regard to quality. So trying something a little bit different this week. We'll see how it goes. I want to recap something for you that I experienced over the last 2 days. And I don't want to get super spiritual with you, but as y'all know, I am a Christian. I do believe in God and as creator of all things, his son, Jesus Christ. All that to say that every once in a while you have what I call God wink moments. Those times when you know that this is something greater. This is something more than what is showing up on the surface. This is a God wink moment. And during the last 2 days, I was at a real estate conference. I'm not transitioning into that world, but embracing that world, if you will, as I continue on my leadership journey, on my career journey. And one of the speakers was somebody that I know quite well, and his name's Chad Free. And if you know Chad, you know how high energy he is, how he leads with his faith, how his favorite phrase is, "You are created on purpose for a purpose," which just resonates with me. And we were sitting at the same table. He's getting ready to go speak. I traveled to Nashville from my home here in Middle Tennessee. He came from North Carolina, but he goes, "David, I've got a really weird thing to ask you." And I'm like, "Shoot, ask me." And he goes, "Do you have a penny?" Now, if you're like me, nobody carries cash anymore, right? We don't carry change in our pocket. We don't have a billfold full of ones and fives and tens or hundreds or whatever. But I said, "I tell you what, I'm not sure, but let me go look in my car and I'll be right back." Lo and behold, I found this bright, shiny penny. And I'm like, this is perfect. So I give it to Chad, and he goes and begins to do his talk to the audience. And he began to talk about the things we miss because we're holding on to small things when a big thing is within our reach. And he took that penny and he put it up to his eye. And then he took a $100 bill and held it out this far. And he said, as long as the penny is in your way, you can't see the $100 bill, even though it's right there within your reach. In that moment, I had that the God wink. For those of you who are been in church all your life, maybe it's one of those promptings. And in my mind, I began to ask the question, how long are you going to stay in Egypt? Now, for those of you who know the story, go watch the Ten Commandments. The children of Israel are in bondage all these years under the rule of the Egyptians. Moses shows up, says, "We're going to go to the promised land." God leads them out. And in the 40-year journey to the promised land, they would murmur and they would complain, and they would murmur and they would complain. And one of the things that kept coming up was, we should have never left Egypt. We had homes there. We had food there. Here we are wandering in the desert. We don't know what's what. Knowing that the promised land was the ultimate destination, the land flowing with milk and honey, they complained about the journey. They complained about not being in Egypt. And so as I began to ponder the question, how long are you going to stay in Egypt? I began to realize that we all have different Egypts that we hold on to that keep us from embracing our promised land. For some of you, it may be a past hurt. Somebody screwed you over, or somebody hurt you really bad, or somebody took money from you, or somebody betrayed you. And you can't let go of that experience enough. It's still there like the penny in front of your eye, keeping you from reaching out to your what's next. Maybe it's the familiarity of your current employment or your current business or your current career. Maybe you're, even though it's a sinking ship or a failing business, it's so familiar and comfortable, and your what's next is so uncomfortable and unfamiliar that you would rather go down on a sinking ship than step out into what's next. Maybe it's the embracement of technology. Maybe you are so set in your ways of how you do things, and your bottom line is not growing like it should, or your influence is not growing like it should, because you're doing the same old things that you've always done because for a period of time they worked, and you're not willing to embrace the thing that's within your grasp to get you to where you want to go, to get you from here to there. All the gurus, or a lot of them, use the phrase, what got you here won't get you there. That phrase is so true right now, regardless of where you are. You may be a solo entrepreneur that everything is on your shoulders. You know, you do the work, you do the books, you do the sales and marketing, or you may be working in an organization that you hate, it pays the bills, but at the same time, it's not bringing you any satisfaction, and you think you're made for something more. You're right. But as long as you continue to embrace your Egypt, as long as you continue to hold on to that penny and keep it in front of your eye, you're never going to see the promise. You're never going to see what is within your reach. So, what do we do about it? Put yourself in places where your thoughts, your beliefs, your routines are challenged. Put yourself, whether it's at a conference like I was for the last 2 days, or maybe it's a podcast or a video, find out what the things that you can embrace are. Begin to do the work on yourself. You see, if you don't work on yourself, you can't do your work with others. You can't step into your purpose. You can't take that action. If you're still reeling from a hurt, or if you're, set into the rut of what you do every day, look, I'm there with you guys. I am there. But I know this, as long as I'm stuck in these ruts, as long as I'm stuck with this hurt, as long as I go down the negative path based upon the past, then I can't step into the future that God has for me. So, as we wrap things up here this morning, I don't go long. I don't need to go long. We need to get to the point and get into action. As I wrap things up this morning, I want to remind you what Chad said. You were created on purpose for a purpose. And whatever that purpose is, until you get out of Egypt, you'll never be on the journey to the promised land. One little fun fact, the journey to the promised land was a few days. But because of the children of Israel's disobedience, it took 40 years. So my challenge for you is, don't make the same mistake they did. Begin to see the promised land as your destination. Begin to walk the journey, and begin to quit complaining about it and wishing you were back in Egypt. You can't get to the promised land as long as your heart and your head are stuck in Egypt. God bless, guys.